Hey, hey,
Hey, Randy.
hey, you made it.
What day? How you doing today?
Good, buddy. Good to have you on here.
Well, thank you. My honor.
You never know. You may need to do some Zoom meetings in the future with some fellow real estate agents.
They're talking. Yeah, technology's getting that way now. Quite a bit. Yes.
Uh,
Okay.
so,
Okay.
I mean, I did have your name thrown out to me a couple of times down there while I was down there in the Kiamichis
Hmm.
just a couple of weeks ago. So, I don't know if you had a chance to look on my YouTube channel and see some of the videos I posted was in that area that you're selling lots right now.
Right. Yes. Yeah.
So right there at the base of that, going up into those lots that you're selling there on the Bucktuklo
Up too
Ridge.
low. Yeah. Oh
Uh,
yeah. I had one experience up there. Yes.
wow, interesting, interesting.
Yeah.
So if you don't mind me asking, I'm going to assume you're close to my age. You're probably 56, 57.
Yes.
Okay, and so when's the first time you you either heard that there's Bigfoots in the Kiamichis or had anything happen that made you think there's something going on there? When did that take place?
Well, when it took place, my dad, this place was his place right here. They came up here back in 2006. And I was in Texas working with my brothers. We played music and stuff, and I kept in contact with him. And he calls me up one day and he says, "Hey, son, yeah, something broke in my trailer." And I said, "Well, dang, Daddy, was it a bear or something?" He said, "Well, I wasn't sure what it was." He said, "But I called the sheriff out, and the sheriff came out, and next thing you know, there's Bigfoot researchers everywhere." And Daddy asked them, "So what's going on?" They said, "Well, Mr. Coleman, we found tracks, and we just want you to know, we've got some people out here that are looking and checking things out." And honestly, Daddy wasn't very happy about it, so he made them leave. But he told me what happened, so it got me, all fired up and stuff. So me and my brother, we planned a trip up. We came up and called the Oklahoma trip. One day I'll send you some videos of that, some of the raw footage and stuff that I did on a VHSC camera. And he come up and he told me the story, and his wife, she started telling me stuff, and I said, "Wow, Daddy, I didn't know." And he said, "Yes, son." He said, "They're up here." And he said, "They come around the house all the time."
So that was
And
in that was in 2000,
well, they came up in 2006. And
2006.
whenever they told me about it, that's been probably, that was like in, oh, 2013. Yeah, probably about 2013, 2012, 2013 is whenever he had the encounter, where it broke in his trailer.
Right. So
Yeah.
so the trailer that you're talking about, is that the trailer that he was living in, or was it a trailer that he had parked that got broken into?
Yeah, they originally lived in it and he built a cabin. And so it was basically more of a storage trailer then. And so it really wasn't that big a deal for him, other than it came up there and it ripped the whole side of it off and tried to get in between the studs and couldn't. And it pushed the studs apart trying to get up in the trailer. I don't know whether it was after cats. It had a bunch of cats and stuff that stayed up there. But
Wow.
yeah, it literally, and you could see where it set down in the uh, installation, a big old butt track where it was trying to get in.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
And but anyway, yeah, we came up and I told Daddy, I said, "Well, listen, I want to go out and look around." And we spent a few days up here, and there's a big pond back in behind the house here. And so I went back there, and I was heading back there with my camera, and I had my camera in my hand and just walking down the trail to get up there. And right when I get to the pond, there's four of them right on the other side of the pond. I mean, it's just a big old black male, auburn female, an older gray one, and a smaller black one. And they saw me and they just kind of just backed into the woods. And I got my camera out and I was shaking like crazy. And I started just trying to record. and I went back and forth on the pond, and I didn't see them anymore. But when I got back to where I could download the video and put it on a computer, I went through it frame by frame, and I mean, they were in it.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
mean, yeah, typically, we see that behavior all the time where they slip just far enough back where they can
yeah,
continue watching, but man, they are hard to catch. Hard to catch.
yeah.
So
And
where's the location? I mean, don't give any
um,
locations, but just general
well,
general.
you've been whenever you're coming up Indian Highway, if you're heading over to Honebby over there, uh, it's right at the foot of the Kiamichi Mountains
Wow.
on the north side.
Wow.
Mhm.
Mm. All right.
Yeah.
So does your dad still live there?
No, he passed. It's
Oh, I'm sorry.
just me and my wife Summer here now.
Okay.
Yes.
Is she interested in the subject? Has she had anything happen, or
She's had a
does it
couple
spook her?
things. She's had a couple things happen. You know, she's heard some things, and she hasn't got to see one yet. But yeah, I was just here like 2 weeks ago. It's got to be a small one, little juvenile. He come up to the back of the deck, and I walked out on the deck, and he took off down through the thicket, and when he got probably about a couple hundred yards from the house, he turned around and screamed at me.
Mhm.
Just screamed at me, and then he came back last week, and we've got two little dogs, and we've got a doggy door, and so it was probably I'd say about a little after midnight or so, and the dogs they just started going crazy. So I got up and went out on the front porch, and when I went on the front porch, it was down by the road screaming at the dogs again. Yeah.
What kind of dogs you have?
Oh, just a little kind of rat terrier, Chihuahua mix, and a Shih Tzu.
Oh,
Yeah,
so
the
a
little
lot of
rat terrier. He's more aggressive with his barking.
yeah, those dogs
Yeah,
have big attitudes.
very big. Yeah, yeah. I mean, it was just screaming at us, and so
Wow.
I'm guessing it'll probably come back again. It's something that's interesting to it. I mean, I
Yeah,
guess
I
it's
mean,
curious.
well, and you'll start to recognize a pattern. Like, sometimes it's once every 2 weeks, sometimes
Uh-huh.
it's once every 7 or 8 days. They've got their own
Yeah,
patterns. They make big loops, and whatever their pattern is, you'll start tuning in on what their pattern is and know when to start paying attention.
yeah. And usually everybody in the area here, whenever if it happens to me, normally I can talk to somebody else, and they say, "Oh yeah, yeah, uh, that kind of happened here around the house too." And
Mm.
so it makes its rounds. Yeah.
So have you noticed anything missing? Any particular items that maybe continually come up missing, say like off your deck or something?
No, now we'll have from time to time they'll actually bring up a bunch of broken limbs, and they'll put them on our deck from time to
Wow.
time. And I say, well, that could be the wind doing that, but it's not a tree that's there by the house. So they're just bringing stuff up. But like I said, I don't know what they're doing. They're not. There's no aggression at all, other than it screamed at me. That's about it. Yeah.
Do you feed your dogs outside or inside?
Cats. We feed the cats outside.
Oh, well,
We've got cats,
maybe
and
maybe they've taken an interest in the cat food.
maybe it just depends. We put different stuff out for different animals. You know, sometimes we'll put apples out, for the deer and things like that. Sometimes corn. Uh, it just depends.
Right.
And it's not. It could go for a long period of time where there's absolutely nothing happening at all, and then all of a sudden, just out of the blue, we'll start getting some what I guess people call action around the house, and well, I got two cedar trees that have been pushed over. Um, all the other trees are fine around them, but the cedar trees are pushed over with the roots sticking up. Big cedar trees.
Mm. So,
Yeah.
in all of the places that you sell lots of land, whether
Oh
it
yeah.
be big
Mhm.
parcels or just small lots
Right.
in and around that area. Have you ever had anything happen out on some, any other areas of the Kiamichis other than where you live?
Sure. Well, in the Hodubby area over there, when you're going over the mountain, 3 miles before you get in there, I took a family out on one, and they were out, walking the property, and I was sitting under a tree, and one just walked right straight in front of me. Just saw the top of his head. Just he was down in the gully, and I could see the top of his head. He come right across, and I've sold a bunch of properties up in there, and people they'll ask me, say, "Well, have you seen any Bigfoot?" And I'll tell them, say, "Well, yeah, I have." And no, there ain't no such thing. Some people will, and then some people they'll buy the property just because I saw Bigfoot on it. Yeah.
Well, if I had the money, I'd have you take me out and I'd buy one. But yeah, so did you watch that video where back in 2009 we lost a walkie-talkie and a photograph and had them both returned in rock cairns? An old Indian rock cairn is where an Indian would leave a gift in a little rock pile. We lost a walkie-talkie on a Monday night, and we didn't know that another fellow lost a photograph out of his pocket. But 4 nights later, we were all up and down that ridge for 4 or 5 days, and then on Thursday night, just outside of our campsite was two little rock cairns that had one of the walkie-talkies that we had lost in it.
Wow, that's amazing. I
I
didn't get
know.
to see the video, no, but yeah, that's amazing. And we see stuff like that too, not just me. Some of the other realtors too around. They have encounters and things. One of the, I guess, the most common things is when you're going on a property and you're trekking on a property. You go down in there and you're on your way back out. You might find a limb across the road or a stack of rocks in the middle, little things like that. And as that's happened to me several times, several times.
Well,
Yeah.
I've got a drone that is thermal. So I've got a
Yes.
drone that will see heat. So I need to hook up with you sometime and you need to make notes of these good areas. And I'll just go up there with you sometime to some of the better properties.
Yeah.
We'll send that drone up to look around.
That'd be great. I used to have a drone, but not like that. I used to drone, try to get some drone footage of things around the pond from time to time, and I never did pick up anything with it because it was a pretty noisy drone. So I'm sure that they could hear it pretty good anyway. But
Yeah.
yeah, those are great, and sure, you come up here anytime, stay as long as you want. I'll take you to all the good places that I've had experiences with around. And those places, yeah, they're still having experiences with them.
So you said that you had a friend, was his name Chuck?
Chuck Clark, yes.
So what happened with Chuck?
Chuck, he went out with me actually behind my house. I sold 445 acres back in behind me here, and he was going to go with me on it to go just check it out, take some pictures with me because he wanted to see the property because he might have had some clients that was interested, and he got to see the female. She crossed in front of us, and she shook a. When we got down to the creek, she shook a tree, and so he got an experience with that. And he's had a lot of experiences with different people, Udell Head, and I can't think of that other guy's name, but he was a big Bigfoot guy around, Mena area over there. But yeah, Chuck's got some pretty good stories himself, and
Wow.
yeah, yeah. But
Well,
yeah, and he told me, he said, Denny, he said, I really didn't believe you. He said, but now, he said, now I believe in Bigfoot. He said, but I wasn't sure whether I wanted to believe you or not because your stories were just so dead gum vivid. And, and he said, now, he said, golly, he said, you were telling me the truth.
yeah, it's a real joy when you get down to a location like yours, and like I said, I've been coming down there since 2003, and
Mhm,
it really is a joy to talk to people who we can just go ahead and get over it, that they're really out there, and let's have this conversation.
mhm.
I hate having to go through the initial parts of conversations where you talk with people where you can just tell that they're so incredulous that they just don't believe you, and
Right.
that's always makes it difficult. But yeah, I mean, I enjoy the subject. You know, I had my own sightings up close, and it's so freaking life changing to just to have something
It
like that
is.
happen, and it's interesting. I mean, because none of us are dummies. We know what we've seen, and it's so
Yeah.
interesting. It's just nice to get around to other people who've also seen them, and we can just have a discussion about
Right. Yeah. Yeah. It's true. And I'll be honest with you. I You will not catch me out on property by myself at night. Uh, I, I I just won't do it. Now I'll go out with somebody, but I will not go out by myself at night. On one. Now I'll go on them during the day, uh, because I have to. That's my job, and I have to go look at properties. But boy, no, you won't get me out by myself at night, especially around here. I'll go out in the yard, but under the light. I know it sounds like a little scaredy cat, but once you seen how big they are, it's kind of
Oh
you
yeah, oh
realize
yeah.
that
I don't know.
they're there. Yeah.
I don't know if you'll get the chance, but if you go back to my video where I had my encounter at the Chickasaw Park, that was my closest encounter with a big male and a little one that came up next to my truck while I was in my truck. And so yeah, I the fear of something that size with an
Hmm.
intelligence behind it, it's
Right.
unnerving. It's unnerving.
Yeah, it is. But like I said, I don't know why I have so many experiences. Maybe just because I'm trying to be aware of it. Uh, but I do. I just sometimes I can go on some properties and I have zero experience at all with anything. But then sometimes there's that one, where you run into some traps, or you're down on the property and you hear something, and you can hear something pacing in the woods, just kind of just keeping up with you and watching you in the woods. You know,
Yeah.
there's not a whole lot of things that does that.
Right. Well, when I was down there in 2003 with my family, I was at the very beginnings of even trying to look for where it's even possible that these things are out there. And
Hmm.
the old Honubby grocery store and restaurant, which is not the restaurant that's down there now, but it was another one up there.
Right.
And uh, I was eating there, and they're the ones that rented cabins out around there. And
Hmm.
there was an older white-haired gentleman and this was in 2003, who was bussing our table. And he said that he was a retired forestry worker. And so I asked him about Bigfoot, and he said that in all of his years of working for the forestry, he said he did see some tracks one time up on K Trail.
Hmm.
He said that there was a thin layer of ice over a puddle, and it had stepped through and broke the ice. And he said it was about 19 or 20-inch long footprint. And
Yeah.
so that was the very first time I talked to somebody who I thought was credible, because he was a forestry worker and he had nothing. What would he gain by telling me that crazy
Right.
story? And so
Right.
that's the moment I said, well, then if they're here, I've got to see one.
Yeah. And I spent a lot of time on K Trail. I've sold two properties right north of K Trail before you get on K Trail. And yeah, I mean, where my home's at here, you can get on the deck 2 or 3 in the morning at different times of the year, and you can just hear them up there. I mean, they just sometimes it sounds like they're having a war. It just and there's nothing else that can make those sounds but them.
Right.
I mean, it's just obvious.
That's where, if I had a place like yours, that's where I would think it would be great for my drone, because I could just launch it right there from your deck, and
You
and
can,
go and
yeah.
go 5 miles up the ridge to wherever those noises are, and see if we can't find them.
Hmm. Yeah.
That would be
And
fun.
you can. It's right where we're at. I think it's one of the most prime spots. We've got the nice creeks down in there. It butts right up against the mountain, and there's a lot of. It's just a good area. A lot. They Nothing's going to bother them up in there. Now we
So do
do
you
have some people that bought the 445 acres. They did do a little bit of improvements on the properties, put some roads in and things really died out for a long time. But now it seems like they're getting used to it, so they're starting to come back around again.
So do you think that time when you took some people up to show them a property and the family was out walking around and you were sitting and you saw the Bigfoot walking down the gully or through the gully, do you think that it even knew you were there, that maybe it was going to wherever the people were to
It was following them. Yeah, it was going to them. Yeah, it didn't know I was there. No,
Nice.
no, didn't know I was there. And that's exactly it. It went the same path they did. Yeah,
Wow.
yeah,
That is awesome, man.
yeah.
Well,
And it's
I, I've developed friendships with quite a few people down there. Uh, are you familiar with the Bransons?
no, I'm
Charles
not.
Charles
No,
Branson and his brother Rick.
no, I don't.
Well, I became friends with talking to Rick Branson. He lived west of Honubby on 144,
Okay.
a few miles. I mean, he had some great stories. He talked about one night at 3 a.m. getting up on and just blasting his shotgun off of his porch because he heard two of them arguing in his driveway, and he said it sounded like
Mhm.
two Chinese women fighting.
Yeah, I've heard that very thing right up here. Yeah, I have heard it. I've got a lot of stories on that too. It's I was coming home. Excuse me, my dad was in the hospital up in Tulsa, and I had to come back down here to get him some stuff. So I drove back from Tulsa, and I got here right before I got to the house. There was this kid on the side of the road flagging me down, and he had blood on him and stuff. So I knew something had probably been in a wreck. And sure enough, he had been. And I told him to get in, and I took him to the emergency room, and and he was telling me what happened. And he said I had to walk all the way down the mountain, to get here. And he said there were some people out there in the woods, and he said I couldn't understand what they were saying. I said, what did they sound like? He said, well, they sounded like some kind of sumo wrestlers talking to each other. And he said they was following him all the way down. They wouldn't come out, and he kept hollering at them, telling them, "Hey, I need help." And but
Wow.
they wouldn't come out, but they was talking. And I said, "Wow, yeah, that's them."
Nice, man. It makes me want to go
Yeah,
back down there. I mean, I just got home a
yeah.
couple weeks ago, but I'm already anxious about getting back down there and doing some camping.
Well, I got a good place up on K Trail. You can go. You can
Oh,
spend as much time as you want there.
well, man, I am sure gonna look you up. I mean, I don't need to take much of your time anymore. I mean, I really appreciate you being open and sharing. And hey, if anybody's listening and you're looking to buy any parcel of land that's got some Bigfoots on it, Denny is the guy to get a hold of. So yeah.
Well, I'll tell you one I sold if you got just a few seconds. I sold 62 acres north of Tallahena in the Bengal area. You may be familiar with that area too. It's where the 8 Mile Mountain is. And there's a little bunch of little smaller mountain
Is that
chains
the is
back
that
up
the
through there.
is that the Potato Hills?
Now it bumps into the winding stair. That's where that winding stairs basically starts right there. Well, I took this guy out on 62 acres up there, and we get up there, and he rode with me. I was in my Land Rover, and went long ways back up in there, rough road, and we get back in there, and we get to the cabin, this little small cabin, and we get out of the Rover, and up on top, up above us, there's this female. She's up there just whooping, loudly whooping. And he looked at me and he said, "Is that what I think it is?" I said, "Yeah." And he said, "Wow." And but she was up there whooping. And he said, "Do you think she's going to bother us?" I said, "I don't know. I have no idea what she's doing up there, but I know she's whooping, just long whoops." And so we go and we trek the property. He wants to go see the creek, so we get down to the creek, and you can kind of faintly hear her back up there. She's still whooping. We're on our way back up. Right about halfway between the creek and the cabin, it sounds like a little 2-year old kid crying. And he was just sitting there listening, and it was coming towards us, but I couldn't see it. But it sounded like a little kid just crying, whimpering. And about that time, she started whooping again up above us. And she started getting closer then. And I told him, I said, let's go ahead and get in the rover now. I said, I think we're in between this mother and her kid. And so we did. We got in the rover and we left. Well, he bought the property. He said, I got to have it. He said, there's no question in my mind what that was. And he did. He bought the property. Now, make a long story short, he didn't stay long on the property. He told me,
Really?
he said, Denny, he said, I just couldn't do it. He said, I couldn't stay there. He said it was just too eerie for me, is what he told me.
Wow.
Yeah.
So
And
he sold
so
it? So
he
he
did
sold
it.
it?
He sold the property, and I let the new buyer know, the experience, that we had on it. And he said, I don't have no issue with that. So he didn't believe anyway. So he just wanted the property. So I'm just anxious to hear his story next time I talk to him.
For sure, for sure.
Yeah.
Oh man, that is
Yeah.
just great. Man, I appreciate you letting me talk to you so much. Uh
It's my honor and pleasure. I appreciate you wanting to hear.
yeah, yeah, yeah. I mean, I love that location down there. It when I pass away, I want my wife to scatter my ashes down there on Bucktuclo Ridge.
Yeah,
So
right. Yeah. Yeah. Well, you went in that area up there. So it was lot 82 when we first started going in there. And it was just a little pig trail up there. You had to go in there on side by side. And that's where I saw some tracks up there. It was pretty cool. Yeah.
yeah, wow.
Yeah.
All right. Well, when you get a chance, check out some of my videos, and you'll
I will. I certainly will. I've actually got an office day tomorrow, so I'll be able to do that.
right on,
And
right on.
yeah,
But yeah, I'm
yeah.
putting you down in my phone because you're going to be one of my contact buddies when I come down there.
Okay, that'd be great. We'd love to have you.
Man, I appreciate it. I appreciate it. So I'm going to go ahead and end this. And is there
Sure.
anything you want to tell any of the listeners? I mean,
Um,
you want to give them an email address or anything if they want to contact you on some property?
I'll just let you do. You feel
Okay,
free to share my email with anyone you want to. That's
okay.
fine with me.
If they send me messages and says, "Hey, I'm interested in buying some land down there," I'll put them in contact with you.
Sure. Yeah, and we can definitely help them out, and I can take them in some places, that most people won't go.
I
Yeah.
hope to go there someday. All right. Well, thank you, Denny. I appreciate you,
Thanks,
buddy.
Randy. No problem. You have a good night,
All right. I'm going to sign out. Bye bye.
and I'll get to looking at them videos tomorrow.
All right. Great, buddy. Thanks.
Hey, thank you.